It has been about a week since 59 people were senselessly murdered and hundreds of others injured and wounded in Las Vegas. As always, there are many areas of uncertainty and a great many unanswered questions. But one of the most important is, how do we honor those who are victims of such horrible, violent aggression? How do we address the underlying cause and prevent the violent aggression that led to these deaths, as well as the similar number of deaths in Chicago in the month of September alone? Now the puppet show ensues, and the talking heads, the extremely wealthy media mouthpieces doing the bidding of their obscenely wealthy masters, have, predictably and immediately, come out in unison against natural law, against your inheritance, your birthright, against liberty. And they do this from where? Well, from the comfort of their ivory towers, many of them surrounded by armed security, armed guards, nearly everywhere they go. Yet they point the finger at who? Again, as has been done throughout history in their desire to subjugate and enslave, they put the finger on we the people. Big surprise, nothing new. In addition to the standard media prostitutes like Tom Brokaw, who certainly do know better, we have the late night hosts and other show hosts like Bill Maher and Trevor Noah, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, and Jimmy Kimmel. While these people can be and have been rebutted through simple concepts, how lowbrow and ridiculous would it have been if, instead of using concepts, it was claimed that the keyboards used by their writers were to blame for their deceitful and fallacious propaganda? But this is, after all, why they are all kind of starting to sound a lot like that girl you wish you wouldn't have started a conversation with at a party.
It's an outrage. It's a tragedy. It's like, what are we even doing? And like, why? And like, don't.
Yeah, that's about the size of it. And it is, indeed, a tragedy. And again, notice the same ages-old tactics used since time immemorial to prevent thought and avoid public discourse. These simple, nonsensical cliches. If you don't agree with my sensationalized, emotional, agenda-seeking drivel, you're stupid. You're a dummy, or a coward, or you're unprogressive, a racist, you're bigoted, or a white male, evidently. And why do they stoop to these illogical and irrational attacks? Well, they've learned that they can expect that this will be accepted as reasoning. They are counting on you to be like little baby birds with mouths all agape, waiting to gleefully swallow all that is regurgitated from on high. This is why the word citizen is so perfect. It perfectly describes this continual repetition of this decontextualized sophistry. However, if we could just shield our eyes for a moment from that glorious light of superiority that shines down from their positions on the moral high ground, maybe we'll be able to see just a little bit more clearly. So let's ask this. What does it take for a person to engage in violent aggression up to and including murder against fellow humans? The fundamental underlying issue is simply this: the inability or refusal to see others as individuals. That's it. Instead, those separate individuals and minds must be herded into a collective that can then be seen as expendable or disposable. They must first be dehumanized. That's it. That is an absolute prerequisite, this dehumanization. Now, one would think that this is simple, beginner-level common sense, something that would be easily understood and in turn bolstered and reinforced in the young, impressionable minds in schools and universities across the country, as well as upheld by what should be the Fourth Estate the media. Instead, we have this.
You stole my property, my Make America Great Again hat.
Look at the kind of shit he's wearing. Look at. He's wearing. You know what this represents? This represents genocide.
I understand.
Genocide of a bunch of people. And look at what he's wearing in front of a group of people.
This is mine. This is mine. You do not get to take other people's property that is legally theirs in this country.
Man, fuck your laws. Alright?
I have a freedom of speech to wear this hat.
Your fucking freedom of speech is genocide, homeboy.
It doesn't matter.
Is that what you're trying to represent?
My freedom of speech allows me to wear that hat as much as I want. You do not get to steal my property. I paid for that.
You can talk about.
How about we talk about not letting people wear this shit on campus?
How about we talk about supporting freedom of speech? Something that people fought and died for.
Oh, no way, and does that make you not racist? Because last time I
myself am half Nicaraguan.
Oh my
I don't
God,
care.
You're fucking white, boy. I really don't though. I fucking hate this country.
That's why by breaking the laws.
Because we need to get rid of all y'all.
But we don't fix it by breaking the laws. And newsflash, I was born here too. I'm not leaving.
I don't give a fuck where you were born, boy. You got a shitload of privilege in you, and it shows by you wearing this hat.
I don't care. I take the privilege that I wear, that I live in this country. I have freedoms that people fought, that people fight.
You do not get to take people's lives away either.
I'm not taking anybody's life.
No, you're not. Actually, you are by wearing that hat.
Are you kidding me?
Because you're fucking promoting you're promoting laws and legislation.
Just because you don't like something, doesn't mean you get to take my property.
You're so fucking
property.
Fuck your fucking freedom of speech, boy. Fuck it.
I don't care what you have to say.
Fuck it, because your freedom of speech is literally killing a lot of people out there. That's what it is. Because you're out there wearing hats like these that promote laws and legislations that literally kill and murder in the masses.
Really?
People of color. Yeah, and fuck you for talking to me like that, boy. We're so lucky we're in a university.
We are.
Okay, well, when you do that, we're never gonna have a civil discussion.
I don't give a fuck. I don't want to have a civil discussion. I want to call you assholes. By believing these ideas, you're inherently disrespectful of people of color, of women, of gay people, of people with depression.
How are we inherently disrespectful to those people?
Because your policies hurt us, and you're white assholes, white bros.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I'm white, and that automatically means I'm
so a white guy's not allowed to have any opinion?
Well, you have shitty opinions. Like,
I mean, you're allowed to be as rude as you want, but
yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day,
and you're allowed to be as privileged and much of a dickbag as you want. And
except,
this is what you're
let's see who's throwing the insults and who's being respectful to you and not calling it.
Oh, these policies are not respectful.
Let's look at socialist countries like Venezuela.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
How did the Soviet Union work out? They were socialist. They failed. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm paying my loans. I don't have.
Yeah, he's paying his loans.
Yeah, that's nice for you.
We have these things called scholarships.
Man.
We have.
So because I'm white,
because he's white,
not because I work.
How does?
Look at your ugly asshole face. Like, you are so into it that you can't even see it.
This is actually really funny how pathetic this is.
I know, you're adorable. You're so cute. I love talking to guys like you because you're pathetic. You're like little worms, and I love it. You're so cute.
No,
so are you going to make a point? Or
I mean,
just
no,
I'm just yelling at you. That's my point.
The vast majority of the people who work for us are women, actually.
Those poor people.
Like, that's like the height of white performativeness. Like, if you're really an ally, like, you just punch allies. You risk going to jail for the fact that they have the platform. You don't need, like, don't even give them the satisfaction of out. Just punch it. Yeah. I literally told you to do the work. Yeah. Punch a Nazi, stop being performative. Punch a Nazi, stop being performative. Punch a Nazi, stop yelling about it. Be about the shit. You're a white ally.
I'm trying to get kicked out. I am. I've been fucking fighting for like 3 months. I put myself at risk of arrest all the time. Somebody threw a fucking megaphone at me. Glasses, hipster.
The performative shit is done. The performative shit is done. Stop outing them. Punch them. Beat their fucking ass if you're an ally. Do it. Be about the shit.
You're pathetic.
peacekeepers.
No,
they
thanks.
job, they have no money.
Thanks to my business. Imagine
Fuck your business.
if my business didn't.
Fuck your business.
Did you have a job?
Fuck your business. I have one. Listen,
it's not a job. So when you finish, where are you gonna go? Well, when you finish college.
I don't need to tell you when I'm gonna go work. What does that matter?
Okay, let's say hypothetically someone goes to college.
It'll be hard as fuck for me to find a job because of the way the capitalist economy operates, no matter what I go into.
And in socialism, I finished college in the USSR.
You did not live under socialism. Let me tell you that. 1959, socialism done in the U.S.
So socialism, in other words, never existed, right?
From in the USSR?
Ever, anywhere in the world.
1917 to when did Stalin die? Like 56, some shit.
Well, say first of all, he died in 53.
So by 59.
So there was socialism. So from 1917, so the only place on earth that socialism ever existed is the Soviet Union, circa 1917 through 1953, because that's when actually Stalin died. Is that what?
That was one camp of socialism.
But it was socialist. That would fit your your definition of socialism, right? So it will, and you are happy with what was happening in the USSR between 1917.
Critique of it. That's what we're Maoists. We make a critique of it in order to improve socialism the next time it comes around and throws people like your ass into a labor camp.
That's an interesting concept. So this way.
Concept is going to be an interesting reality someday.
So
now you'll be around to see it.
So this way, the system that you advocate would throw my ass, to quote you, into labor camp just because, let's assume, I'm a racist. Okay.
Dehumanization 101. This is education. This is what it means to be enlightened. This is pure hatred based on stereotypes and assumption. This is everything. This is everything they claim to be against. These are institutions of higher indoctrination. It has created a very dire situation that was exposed and actually predicted in Thomas Sowell's 1993 book, Inside American Education. Great book. You should really read it. It's fascinating and timely. Unfortunately, Mr. Sowell and many others, such as Colia Noir, Maj Touré, Antonia Okafor, Shayna Lopez-Rivas, deal with a continual barrage of foul invective, often including racial slurs, emanating from that moral high ground, because evidently from that lofty vantage point, they also presume to know what people of color, females, immigrants, etc. should think, and how they should talk, and what ideas are appropriate for them. And if you don't jump to the crack of their whip, then you're not the right kind of person of color. You're not the right kind of female. You're not the right immigrant. So please understand that. Please understand that those who presume to steal your natural human rights do not like what, in their more honest days, they called uppity slaves. That's not a joke. So, to what has the decades of disseminating bigotry and hatred led? Well, let's have a look.
Just gonna head on over here. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I am outraged. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
30 minutes. Listen.
Donald Trump, white people, what?
Film. Goof. My sister with my sister said this not funny, y'all.
The most violent protest that broke out in Berkeley since the election of President Donald Trump. Left and right-wing demonstrators clashed at a Trump rally in Civic Center Park on April 15th. Cell phone video like this one captured the violence, including this vicious attack by a masked man armed with a bike lock. You can see that man, an anti-fascist protester, hit the Trump supporter in the red t-shirt right on the head with the lock. Seconds later, that victim is on the ground bleeding profusely while bystanders tried to help. That video was shared all over social media, prompting people to screen grab images of the masked man in hopes of identifying him. It wasn't before long when former Diablo Valley
Demask him! Demask him! Take the mask off! Yeah! Yeah, there we go. Suicide!
Shall be arrested for violation of Penal Code Section 407 for refusal to disperse.
So this guy was gonna throw shit and piss at people, right? Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much.
You're a disgusting human being. You get everything coming to you.
I'm looking to just make a statement by being here, and I think the protesters are doing the same. And props to them for the ones who are doing it non-violently, but I think that's a very rare thing indeed. So.
Are you surprised?
I think the people watching tonight should look at the people protesting and look at what color hat they're wearing. It's certainly not red.
But as you can see, she was wearing red. As we continued the interview, Kiara Robles paid for it. Are you surprised, ma'am? In a free country, with free speech, in this iconic place, no matter what a person's politics, that happened. Ma'am, are you all right?
Yes, I am. Thank you for asking.
Two mothers saying their final goodbyes to their sons, Jordan Babish and Jacob Kudla, teenagers brutally murdered by these two defendants in July of 2012, defendants who showed no remorse on their sentencing day.
I'd like to say sorry to the families of Ayanna Jones, Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, and I want to apologize to them for not being able to get justice for their loved ones who was murdered in cold blood. And in respect for the peaceful protest, I want to say hands up, don't shoot. Black Lives Matter. That's it, Your Honor.
Those were the final words 24-year-old Frederick Young chose to say to the grieving families in the courtroom.
Now, think about this very seriously. That was a whole lot of ridiculousness, a whole lot of just pure anger and hatred. And every single one of these examples is disgusting. But what really strikes me is that this day and age, you can actually have a university hire an ethics professor who believes it is okay to assault someone to whom he attributes a negative label with a metal object, and this doesn't warrant any academic or media outrage. That is assault with a deadly weapon by an ethics professor. Not a word. Not a word. And also, another interesting point. At the Berkeley riots where Anti-Free was tearing stuff up, throwing a fit, that young lady who was pepper sprayed. If you look at that video, what is her hat? It is a red hat with white lettering that says Bitcoin on it, right? She got pepper sprayed by someone who is so conditioned that they saw a red hat, they saw white lettering, and they attacked. They became violently aggressive because, well, I guess the only thing you can really say is they've been conditioned to this point.
Yo, let's do this.
Yep. This is what they're doing to you people.
Color.
Getting this?
Color.
That's what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. This is pure operant conditioning. This is not education. Also interesting is that Antifree was recently infiltrated by Steven Crowder and recorded as they spoke of obtaining illegal weapons, such as a sawed-off shotgun. That's illegal everywhere. This evidence was offered basically on a silver platter to the media whores who want you to believe that they are honestly concerned about guns, especially in the hands of demonstrably violent offenders. And what did they do? They turned it down flat. It didn't even seem to pique their curiosity in the slightest. And also, in the wake of this horrific dehumanization in Las Vegas, we have witnessed a whole sewer of dehumanization toward Republicans, Trump supporters, gun owners, and white men. And I think it's interesting to point something out here, because we see this juxtaposition quite often recently. And this is, again, this is the media. These are the universities. When they say racism is bad, we don't like bigotry, but we hate white men. And every time I hear this, it reminds me of something from this old show, Strangers with Candy, where they were, I'm not sure, I can't remember what the scene was, but the statement was made that the only thing we hate more than racists is spics. And it's a funny statement, but why is it funny? Because it's utterly ridiculous. It makes no sense. However, what it reminds me of is Norman Dodd speaking about the tax-free foundations, and what they told him was that their intention was to institute conflicting interests. And when you see evidence of it, you have to kind of wonder what kind of job they've been doing on public opinion. I know I digress, but I thought that was an important point to make. So, to be clear, the media, the universities, and all their little minions, these puppets, these obsequious slaves and all their whining sycophants, have turned a blind eye. They've defended and praised, and in their deafening silence, supported this dehumanization, which is what? The underlying cause of all oppression everywhere throughout history. Let that sink in. They claim to be against oppression, yet they support the fundamental underlying cause of it. It's got to make you think. So, how do we honor those that we lost in Las Vegas? How do we prevent violently aggressive attacks? Well, we honor those killed by dehumanization, not by engaging in the perpetuating and the perpetrating of further dehumanization, as is the observed behavior of the universities and the mainstream media, but by supporting individual liberty, individual freedom. Oppression and slavery do not have a skin color. They have behaviors and they have actions. It's not about a race that's always doing it and a race that can't seem to avoid it. That is ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. It's not about race. It's not about skin color. These are behaviors. The actions and the behaviors that we've seen in this video were not caused by the race or the skin color or any superficial aspect of our shared humanity. They were caused by an acceptance of and a willingness to engage in the dehumanization of individuals. And it seems so simple, because it is. But why would this not be the focal point of the solution to oppression and slavery? Well, because in the end, the war is against you, the human individual. The war is against your right to your own mind and consciousness, and the protection and defense thereof. This is why slavery and oppression attack free speech. The war is against your right to your own life and liberty and the protection and defense thereof. This is why slavery attacks your capacity for personal defense. They want to force you into some fabricated group identity to purchase you with bread and circuses, to get you to sell out, to convince you to join in lockstep in order to be counted as acceptable. The intellectual prostitutes chant diversity and equality, all the while treating people inequitably in the pursuit of nothing but homogeneity. It is psychological, intellectual, and philosophical gentrification. They presume to remove you from your own humanity and claim it as their property. It becomes very clear that the only equality they wish to impose or compel or coerce is equal opportunity slavery. So, to all my individual brothers and sisters of every conceivable background who understand liberty and wish to engage in the animating contest for freedom, don't ever forget you have the con, because that is what scares slavers to death.